Well, welcome back to Cardboard Swords and another spoilers edition of the Player's Toolbox. What a spoiler season it has been. We've had pretty much all of Outsiders spoiled, so there's plenty to get on with. Let's get in. What better place to start than the heroes themselves? We've had those hero abilities spoiled, and we've got a new assassin with some new tricks, Uzuri Switchblade. Once per turn as an attack reaction, you can banish a card from your hand face down, flip it face up, and then if the active chain link is an attack action card with stealth, you can do a switcheroo and cheat it in as long as it costs 2 or less. That's a pretty spicy ability that's got the assassin crowd pretty excited. Arachne's Solitary Confinement is altogether more simple and a bit more new player friendly. It gives the first attack with stealth each turn go again. And then we have Riptide, our trap based ranger. Whenever you play a card from hand, you may put a card from hand face down into your arsenal. So he's got reload on tap, and his second ability says whenever a trap you control triggers, deal 1 damage to the opposing hero. The context for trigger here is when the criteria on the trap has been met. I'm not going to lie, I'm falling for Riptide, hook, line and sinker. We also saw the return of our old heroes, Azalea, Katsu and Benji, with no changes to their abilities. On to the generics, and let's start with some equipment. We've got a whole range of Seeker's stuff. Seeker's leggings, Seeker's mitts, Seeker's gilet and Seeker's hood. For each one as an instant you can pay 1 and destroy it to prevent the next 1 damage and opt 1. Silken Gi is a common chess piece. You can destroy it at instant speed to make your next attack action cost 1 less. Downside is it also gets 1 less power. Threadbare Tunic is another chess piece that you can destroy at instant speed to gain a resource. The downside of this is you can only do it if you've got no cards in hand. Fisticuffs is an arm piece with an attack reaction that costs 2 and destroy it to give an attack action card +1. We also got Fleetfoot Sandals, which is an attack reaction you can destroy to give a target attack with 1 or less base power go again. And then we got a legendary generic arm equipment, Rembrandts of Determination. Once per turn as an attack reaction you can pay 1 and the next prevention effect that prevents combat damage this turn prevents 1 less of that damage. This seems pretty good for some decks that want to nullify the effect of Crown of Seeds. We then saw some reprints in Come to Fight, Seek Horizon and Ravenous Rabble, all just pretty good salt of the earth cards that are bound to see some limited play. In terms of new stuff, Springload is a 1 cost attack for 2, but if you've got no cards in hand it gets a buff of +3. Scout the Periphery gives your next attack a buff and allows you to look at the top card of a target hero's deck. And Brush Off is a 0 cost instant that can prevent up to 3 damage, which Benji will hate. Freewheeling Renegades is a 1 cost attack for 6, but if it's defended by an action card, which it more than likely will be, it gets -2. Feisty Locals is a 0 cost for 3, but if it's defended by an action card, it has a buff of +2. And Destructive Deliberation is a 2 for 5, and when it hits, create a ponder token. Cut Down to Size is a 2 for 6, and when it hits a hero, if they have 4 or more cards in hand, they discard a card. Oof. Wreak Havoc is a 2 for 6, defense reactions can't be played to the chain link, and when it hits a hero you may turn a card in their arsenal face up, then destroy a defense reaction in their arsenal. And Looking for a Scrap is a 1 for 4, but if you banish a 1 power attack from your graveyard it gets +1 and go again. Infectious Host is a 0 for 4, and when it attacks, if your opponent controls a Frailty, an Inertia or a Bloodrock Pox, it gives them another 1. Humble is a 2 for 6 attack, and on hit it'll erase that hero's text box until the end of their next turn. Premeditate is a 0 cost non-attack action with Go Again. It gives your next attack that you play from Arsenal +3, and the next attack that hits, you'll create a Ponder token. It's like a fair version of Plunder Run, so it's Ponder Run. Burdens of the Past is a 0 cost non-attack action with Go Again. It comes in blue and blocks 3. It says until the end of turn, target hero can't play defense reactions with the same name as a card in their graveyard. On top of that, if they've got 10 or more defense reactions in their graveyard, you get to draw a card. Gore Belching is a 0 cost attack for 7, but when you attack with it you peel cards off the top of your deck until you hit an attack. You banish the attack and then Gore Belching gets minus that attack's power. It's a bit of an unusual effect, but this might be one of those cards that hints at something to come, especially as we know we've got a Light and Shadow themed expansion set on the way. Give and Take is a 3 power 1 cost attack with Go Again, and it's got a little bit of light recursion bolted on, enabling you to put a card from your graveyard back on top of your deck whenever it's defended by an action card. Down and Dirty is a 6 power 2 cost attack, and while it's in your arsenal, you can defend with it. Handy. And Amnesia is a 2 cost 6 power attack, and when it hits a hero, cards and tokens lose all their names. So we got a few generic 2 cost 6 power attacks with impactful on hit effects. A bit like that one from Arcane Rising. What's it called? Onto the dual class stuff, and for the first time ever we got dual class equipment. Blade Cuff defends for 1 with Blade Break, or as an action you can pay 2 and destroy it and your daggers get +1 to the end of turn. Mask of Shifting Perspectives also blocks for 1 with Blade Break. As an attack reaction you can destroy it, and whenever a dagger hits you can cycle a card, putting a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck and drawing one. And we also got a legendary dual class bit of kit in Flick Knives. It's an arm piece with a 0 cost attack reaction activation. It allows you to deal 1 damage with a dagger that's not on the active chain link, but if you do, you destroy the dagger. And then in the common slot we got Short and Sharp, an attack reaction that can target a dagger or a small attack and buff it by 3. Plunge, a 3 power 1 cost attack with Go Again, and when it hits, the next dagger attack this turn gets +1. And Hurl, a 0 cost 3 power attack with Go Again that basically lets you yeet a dagger at the opponent. You get the on hit effect of the dagger, but you have to destroy it. We also got Bleed Out, a 2 cost 4 power attack with Go Again, but its cost is reduced by the amount of damage you've done with daggers this turn. Onto the Majestics, and we got Knives Out, a 3 defense blue pitch attack reaction that gives your daggers a buff of 1 for the turn. Concealed Blade is an attack reaction that buffs 1 of your attack action cards by 1. More importantly though, it lets you go to your deck box, pull out another dagger and just equip it. And if that's not enough, it pitches for 3 and blocks for 3. Stab Wound also pitches and blocks for 3. It's a 0 cost attack for 2, and when it hits a hero they lose X life, where X is the number of times a dagger's hit them this turn. Onto the Assassin and Ranger dual cast cards, and we've got an arm piece with Toxic Tips. As an action you can pay 1 to give your opponent 1 of the disease tokens, and it also blocks for 1 with Blade Break. We also saw Mask of Malicious Manifestations, now that's a mouthful. Pay 1, destroy it, flip cards from the top of your deck until you get an attack action card, and that card goes to hand. Also blocks 1 with Blade Break. And then we got some dual class trap defense reactions. Inertia Trap, it costs nothing, it blocks for 3, and when it defends a buffed attack they get an inertia token. Frailty Trap's the same, except it gives a frailty token when it blocks an attack with Go Again. And Blood Rot Trap's the same, giving a Blood Rot token when the opponent has activated or played an attack reaction. I'm not sure how much constructed play these traps will see, but they'll probably be useful in limited. Virulent Touch is a 0 cost attack for 4 that can't be played from hand. If you defend it with a card from hand, you'll get a Blood Rot Pox token for your trouble. Toxicity is a 0 cost action with Go Again, and when your next class attack action card hits a hero, they'll lose 5 life. And we also got Death Touch, a 1 for 6 value train, and when it hits you can give your opponent a disease token. And we also got the codexes. They all come in yellow and there's 1 for each disease. They're a 0 cost action with Go Again, and they make each hero put the top card of their deck face down into their arsenal and then draw a card. You get a ponder token and your opponent gets the relative disease token. They definitely didn't hold back on the power level for these dual class cards, and I expect some of these will see plenty of constructed play. Onto the assassin cards, and we got loads of knives. Now we know Spider's Bite is the token weapon, but we also got Nerve Scalpel. Now the daggers all have the same text as Spider's Bite, except when they hit, they give -1 defense to different types of cards. Nerve Scalpel gives -1 defense to reaction cards, Orbiter Class affects non-attack action cards, and Scale Peeler affects equipment. So there's a good toolbox of daggers to use in different combinations against different decks. And we also saw the legendary Assassin Chest, Redback Shroud. You could pay silver to get it back from your graveyard like the Black Tech Whisperers, and as an attack reaction you can destroy it to make the next attack reaction you play cost 1 less. It seems pretty good, but we didn't get any more attacks with contracts, so generating silver might be an issue here. We then got a suite of attack actions that are 0 cost for 3 with stealth, and when they hit a hero they create 1 of the relative disease tokens under their control. Arachne Solitary Confinement is probably going to hoover these up in the draft. Malign is another attack, a 0 for 3 with stealth, and its damage can't be prevented. Isolate is a 0 for 3 with stealth that has Dominate, and Prowl is a 0 for 3 with stealth that buffs your next attack with stealth by 1. These stealth based attacks are going to be the bread and butter of your assassin based deck, particularly so in limited, but possibly also in constructed. And if stealth attacks are going to be your bread and butter, then attack reactions are probably going to be the meat in your sandwich. Spike with Inertia, Spike with Frailty, and Spike with Blood Rot are all attack reactions that buff your attack by 3, and on hit, give your opponent the relative disease token. And in the rare slots, we got Sneak Attack, a 2 cost attack for 3, but if you've played or activated an attack reaction, he gets a buff of 4, which seems very good in Azuri. Backstab is a 0 for 3 with stealth that defense reactions can't be played to its chain link. And we also got Spreading Plague, a 1 cost attack reaction that pitches for yellow, and it says create X Blood Rot Pox tokens under defending player's control, where X is the number of cards they've defended with. Infiltrate is a 0 for 3 with stealth and when it hits a hero you banish the top card of their deck and you can play their card until the end of your next turn. Hitting Bravo with his own Crippling Crush, that's just been added to my bucket list. Shakedown is Azuri's specialisation. It's a 2 for 6, meaning you can cheat it out with Azuri's ability. It says if you've played or activated an attack reaction this chain link, it has, when this hits a hero, choose red, yellow or blue, your opponent reveals their hand and you can banish a card of the chosen colour. Strong. So the Assassin class looks fun for sure, and it'll be interesting to see how the existing card pool synergises with the new cards from Outsiders. On to the Ninja class, and Ninja fans will surely be happy with what they've seen. Mask of Many Faces is their common equipment piece, and it blocks for 1 with Blade Break. At instant speed you can pay 1 and destroy it and name a card, and the next attack action card you play this turn gains the chosen name. This is a pretty handy way to turn on that combo line. We got some reprints of old favourites in Head Jab and Surging Strike, and we also got some new tricks in 1-2 Punch, which is a 0 for 3 and forms kind of a mini combo with Head Jab. We got Descendant Gust Wave, a divergent and extension of the Surging Strike combo line. It's a 1 for 3 with Go Again, but it costs 1 less and has a buff of 2 if your last attack was Surging Strike. Deadly Duo is a 1 for 3 with Go Again, and when it hits, the next attack you play with 2 or less base power gets a buff of 2. Be Like Water is a 0 for 3 with Go Again, and when it hits, you can pay 1. If you do, you can choose either Head Jab, Surging Strike or Twin Twisters, and it gets that name. Back Heel Kick is a 0 for 3 and it combos with Twin Twisters. If you get the combo off, if it would gain a buff, it gains that much +1. Spinning Wheel Kick is a 1 for 4 with Go Again and it combos with Twin Twisters or itself. If you get the combo it gets +1 and if it hits it goes on the bottom of your deck. And Recoil is a 0 for 3 that combos with Head Jab. If it hits, you can put a card from your hand on the top of your deck. Silverwind Shuriken is a 0 cost blue pitch ninja item. As an attack reaction you destroy it and target attack action card with combo gains +1. Head Leads the Tail is a 1 for 3 with Go Again. When you attack you name a card and cards of the chosen name get a buff of 1 for the turn. Cyclone Roundhouse Kick is a yellow pitch 2 for 5. It combos with Spinning Wheel Kick. If you get the combo, at the beginning of the reaction step you banish a random defending card from each chain link. If you manage to banish equipment with this, that could be game winning. Wonder with Purpose is a really flavourful card, one of my favourites. It's a 0 for 2 Benji specialisation. It pitches for yellow and it basically allows you to do Katsu's ability 1 time. The apprentice learning from the master, if you will. We also got Katsu's specialisation. Visit the Floating Dojo, a 0 cost ninja instant. At instant speed you can put a Surging Strike and a card with combo from your graveyard on the top or bottom of your deck. Now it's an instant and doesn't block, which I don't love, and I'm not really sure what the use case is for this yet. But generally I think Ninja players are going to be happy with some of the tools they've got in this set. It looks like it's going to be fun to play in Limited, and there's plenty there for Constructed. And finally we're into the Ranger class, and in the head slot we got Wayfinder's Crest. It blocks for 1 with Blade Break, and when you defend with it, you can look at the top card of a hero's deck. Perhaps more interestingly in this set, we got the introduction of Quivers. Now we already saw the Quiver of Rustling Leaves, and now we've got Crow's Nest, and Azalea specialisation. Whenever you put an arrow face up into your arsenal from your deck, you can pay 1 to put an aim counter on it. This seems good for Azalea, and there's no real reason not to run it, unless you're going to opt for another Quiver of course. Driftwood Quiver is Riptide's specialisation, and at instant speed, you can pop it to put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. And our legendary quiver is Quiver of Abyssal Depths. At instant speed you can pay 3 and destroy it to shuffle 3 arrows from your graveyard back into your deck. They all have to have different names, so don't go thinking you're going to get all your red in the ledgers back, but this is still pretty good. And we also got a legendary chest equipment, Trench of Sunken Treasure. Once per turn you can put a face down card in your arsenal on the bottom of your deck to gain a resource. I'm not sure how abusable that is and whether it's better than Tunic yet or not, but it also has AB and Blade Break and defense for 1. Onto the arrows, and we got Withering Shot. It's a 1 for 5, but if it's got an aim counter it gets a buff of 1. When it hits a hero you create a frailty token under their control. Widowmaker is a 1 for 4 that you can't play defense reactions to. If it's defended by less than 2 cards, it has a buff of +3. And Spire Sniping is a 1 for 5, and when it ends up face up in your arsenal you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. Skybound Shot is a 1 for 5, and if it's got an aim counter it gets a buff of 1. Sedation Shot is a 1 for 5, an aim counter buffs it by 1, and if it hits they create an inertia token. Murkmire Grapnel is a 0 for 4, and it gets a buff of 1 with an aim counter, and damage can't be prevented. Infecting Shot is a 1 for 5 that gets a buff of 1 with an aim counter, and if it hits, create a Bloodrot Pox token. And Falcon Wing is a 0 for 3 with Go Again, if it's got an aim counter it gets a buff of 1. And then we got a cycle of non-attack actions that buff your next arrow attack and also lace it with one of the diseases. Lace with Blood Rot, lace with Frailty, and lace with Inertia. We also got Fletcher Redtail, Fletcher Yellowtail, and Fletcher Bluetail, non-attack actions that cost 1 and give your next attack a buff. If your next arrow has an aim counter on it, then cards of the relative colour have -1 defence. And then we got our trap defence reactions. Tar Pit Trap is a yellow pitch, 0 cost defense reaction for 3. If it defends an attack with Go Again, the next on hit effect won't trigger. Pendulum Trap is another yellow pitch, 0 cost defense reaction for 3. If they've played or activated an attack reaction that chain link, then you can mill their top 2 cards into their graveyard. And Boulder Trap is again a yellow pitch, 0 cost defense for 3. And when it defends a buffed attack, you can put a -1 counter on a piece of their equipment. But the real heavy hitting traps, at least for constructed, are Riptide's specialisations. They're all blue pitch, 0 cost and defend for 3. If Spike Pit Trap is played on a chain link where an attack reaction has been activated, the opponent puts the top card of their deck into their graveyard, then takes damage equal to the number of cards with that name in the graveyard. We've seen Collapsing Trap already, but when it defends an attack with Go Again, the attacking hero discards their hand and then draws that many -1. And when Buzzsaw Trap defends an attack with power greater than its base power, then it loses all its buffs. All in all, there's some good tools here, but I feel like Riptide's going to take longer to work out the optimal build than some of the other heroes in the set. Melting Point is a Majestic Ranger non-attack action with Go Again. It costs 1 and gives your next arrow attack a buff of 4. If the arrow has an aim counter on it, when it hits a hero you can destroy target weapon they control with base power 1. Might be useful for dealing with those daggers or Kodachis. Barbed Undertow is a Majestic Arrow. It costs 1 and comes in for 5. If it's got an aim counter, it gains when this hits a hero, choose red, yellow or blue, and your opponent can't pitch cards of the chosen colour to the start of your next turn. And Amplifying Arrow is a yellow pitch, 0 cost arrow attack for 2. But while it's face up in any zone, if it would gain a buff, it gains that much buff +1. This seems like it would be pretty good with Voltaire. Seems like they're throwing Lexi a bone here. So there's plenty here for Ranger fans to get stuck into, particularly Azalea fans, and Lexi maybe got a few pieces, especially for the no fuse version, which is becoming quite popular. I think Riptide's going to take a bit longer to work out, but it's going to be fun doing it. So many spoilers in so little time. Thanks for joining me for this spoiler roundup. We've got plenty of Outsiders gameplay coming to the channel. We've got pre-release footage next week and an upcoming sealed league which we'll share details of. So please like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.